Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2014 Cadillac SRX, we're going to be showing you how to install the Roadmaster towed vehicle charge line kit. But before we get into that, let's just take a minute, check this out, and talk about what it's going to do. A charge line kit is a really simple but important part, and a lot of times a lot of people overlook them. But more or less what this is going to do is keep your vehicle's battery maintained or topped off whenever you're flat towing it down the road. And the reason it's needed is because your braking system that you choose, the supplemental braking system, whenever that operates, that draws power from your Cadillac's battery. And so what can happen is over time, you're over the road 6-8+ hours, you get to where you're going, and you go to disconnect, start up the car, and it's dead because the braking system, depleted your battery. And so with that charge line, what it's going to do is use some of the power from your motorhome. So your motorhome will have that 7-way on the back of it, the 7-way trailer connector, and within that 7-way, there's a 12-volt auxiliary power. So it's going to use some of that amperage to essentially trickle charge your Cadillac's battery. Keep in mind, you have to have a properly, a good functioning battery to begin with. This kit isn't going to bring one back to life or anything like that. Just solely, used as a maintainer in a sense. And it's going to extend the life of the Cadillac's battery too, because, if you drain it down and then start, charge it up, drain it down, charge it up, drain it down, and so on, there's only so many cycles. So by keeping this topped off, you should get a little bit more time out of it before you need to replace it. The kit is going to come with a circuit breaker, and so it's going to keep everything protected. That way if a short or something like that does occur, it'll trip the breaker. It's not going to mess anything up, But anywho, like I said, the power is going to come in from your motorhome 7-way through the breaker and out over to the positive battery terminal, and that's how it's actually going to charge a battery. You are going to need a 6-way round type connector for this kit to work though. That's because the charge line plugs into the back of this. Then you'll have a cable coming out of here to the back of your motorhome. So, if you're putting a whole kit together, I'd suggest getting a diode wiring kit that has this type of connector. We carry several of them here at etrailer. But, that kind of touches on the installation. As far as getting this installed, really not bad at all. It's essentially one wire. You mount up your breaker, hook the wire up into here, and then put it to the battery. So really shouldn't give you too many issues, but if you'd like to see how it's done, feel free to hang around. We'll go ahead and hook it up together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the front of our Cadillac, and what we need to do is hook up our connector plug. So I got one end of the wiring dropped down through here, and in the location we're going to mount this up, and that way we can get it hooked up. But I want to mention too, now is a good opportunity while you're installing these parts to do anything else that might get connected to the back of the connector plug. You want to take the rubber boot from your connector plug and slide that over the wiring before we start to get it hooked up. Now we can prep our wiring to get it set up here. So this is our charge line wire, and like I said, if you're going to be doing, diode wiring or anything, that'd be a good time to do it all at the same time, but we'll focus on our charge line for now. So what you're going to do is strip back the insulation, give that wire a good twist. Then if you take the connector plug, we're going to be hooking the charge line up to the middle prong there. So you back out the set screw almost all the way, and then simply just place that into the terminal. And tighten it back down. Here's what the back of the connector will look like once everything's all hooked up. And I'm going to come in with some sealer and just put it around our terminals. That way it'll prevent corrosion, because that's usually what ends up damaging these in the long run. So doing this will help keep it in good working order. We'll slide our dust cover over it. And we'll take our connector, put that in place, and secure it to our base plate. So to get our charge line up into the engine compartment, the wire just ran along through here and then up. And this is a lot easier to do with the fascia off when you're doing your base plate. But just working with what we got today, this is how we got it. And so it's going to come up into the engine compartment where I have it routed over to our circuit breaker. When you mount up the circuit breaker, you want to have it relatively close to the battery, and so this is a perfect spot for it. Just a couple of self-tapping screws that they give you secured this right to it. That line that we just ran up here that's going to the back of the six-way, that gets connected to the brass or gold-colored post here on the breaker. So you crimp on a ring terminal, run it down, tighten the nut, and then that extra piece, so you cut that to length. And this is what was remaining. One side you're going to crimp on a small ring terminal. Then the other side, just strip that back and crimp on the larger terminal. So these things just slide over and crimp it down. And that's how it'll be set up. And you can remove the nut on the silver colored post. Slide that over. And tighten that nut back down. And when you go to snug these up, it's a 3/8. And you don't need to get carried away, just run it down till it stops. And then just give it a little bit more to get it tight. The big terminal is going to get hooked up to the positive battery post. So I just lifted up the plastic battery cover and we'll loosen up this nut with a 10mm. Now this nut actually doesn't come all the way off, at least easily, and it's designed that way. So you're just going to unscrew it until it stops. And then we're going to take a ring terminal here, if I can get to it, and we're just going to cut a small opening in it. I kind of like to squeeze it together a little bit more, give it a better contact area there. Just going to slide in behind the nut there. And then we can just tighten it back down. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster towed vehicle charge line kit on our 2014 Cadillac SRX.